With the iPhone 15 lineup coming out next month and it being near a year since I got my 14 Pro Max, what surprised me about this phone, using it since last September, downsides that I was not expecting is the dynamic island, which was brand new for the 14 Pro phones. I said that I wasn't really using it very much. Now, sure, it's nice that we don't have that ugly notch that is protruding, but it also cuts out more of the video if you like to watch in full screen, and I was hoping that more applications would start to support it. It's just tapping it when I'm listening to music or podcasts, which is all the time, and that is just really nice. I often use timers, and to see that countdown being built right in with screen recording, having that little red dot that pops up telling me that I'm recording. And in general, I would say that it would be really hard for me to go back to not having a dynamic island. For example, Google Maps still does not use that. And just so I could see that turn-by-turn notification is the always on display. I loved it in my first review on how to go in and create a custom mode where it has a dark background so it's not as bright and it saves battery life. I think Apple has made some optimizations as far as the battery life, where the screen looks like it's pretty much on just in a dimmed mode. And I love being able to just look over, glance at my notifications, and to have quick controls. I think Apple did an excellent job with this and has been one of the biggest reasons to upgrade. The reception, cellular performance, and speed. Now, I've done many videos testing different generations of phones. Fairly good reception in my basement. I have even a 13 Pro Max that, because of the better modems that are in here, maybe a little bit more power optimization, now is actually there when in the past it wasn't. So if you're thinking about upgrading, maybe you want to wait another year, if you have been upgrading is going to make that better, or you might even get a signal when you didn't have one in the past. But I hated this when it came out. I talked about the issues I had, family members that had issues getting self-service on their new phone because they're drop call issues. My wife's 14 Pro Max had some issues. She did drop, but we had to get it replaced. And I did not miss having that SIM card slot. It was basically just as fast as having to, remove it, swap it, but just place two phones together. So I think that is one thing that really surprised me, and that is the 48 megapixel camera sensor. Now, when Apple announced this, they showed it off. They made a huge deal about it. They showed off the 2x crop mode, saying it was basically lossless, and we showed how Apple's 48 megapixel destroys Samsung's 108 and even their brand new over 200 megapixel sensor. Now, one issue I had was the fact that you have to record in Apple RAW, and then the file size is massive, and I showed you guys how you can have a shortcut that will make it into HEIFs or HEICs, giving you the full resolution, but at the same time making the file sizes really small. And I am doing it way more often than I expected. Now with that 2x crop mode, I'm using that all the time. I love that focal length more so than the 3x lens, and the quality is surprisingly good. And with that, this year, for the first time ever, I'm using my phone for even YouTube videos that we make quite often. I'm even mixing in shots with my professional Sony cameras, and as long as the lighting is good, they match really well. I'm also using the 4K cinematic mode that was enabled this year in some shots, but in a lot of shots, because that cannot get messed up due to the algorithm not functioning properly. So now we got to talk about some of the issues on how to make your iPhone's battery last a long time. And at that time, my iPhone was at 99% capacity. Now I am at 91. It fell off a cliff. Hers was at 100. Now she is at 92. That he's at 90%, and usually at this time of year he would be at 100, and that his 13 Pro Max, which he used for a full year as his daily phone, and then the last year he used it for YouTube videos, that's at 98. Now I don't know if that's because of the always on display, but this is definitely a disappointment. Now it's showing its true capacity. It's dropping like a rock to give you another incentive to upgrade. But this definitely sucks and something I was not expecting. We talk about this every year and it has gotten better. And when I first got the 14 Pro Max, and even though we did have some dimming, it was way better than before. But recently, we're in that 2000 nit ultra high brightness, which is amazing when it does work. And I don't know if this also is like the thermal layer they have not being as effective, has put more focus on thermals, especially now that we have so much performance and such high brightness screens. And specifically the selfie camera. Now the 14 lineup got brand new 12 megapixel sensors, and some websites said that this is the biggest selfie camera update ever. Good. And Android phones have way better selfie cameras that are destroying them. Now, I absolutely love this thing. You guys let me know your thoughts. Have you been happy with them, or does Apple need to step this up? So